Welcome to the Wealth Wisdom, where money has history and knowledge becomes power.
Most people believe currencies rise and fall because of how well a country is doing. If a nation works hard, exports more, builds industries, strengthens institutions, then surely its currency should become stronger, right? We're taught that recessions, inflation, or unemployment are what cause currencies to collapse. The common belief is simple. Strong countries have strong money. Weak countries have weak money. But what if that's only the surface layer? What if the real forces driving currencies up and down are not governments, not markets, and not the public, but networks? Networks most people have never heard of. Networks that don't appear in textbooks, charts, or news headlines. Networks that leave no fingerprints, only results. They don't operate in parliaments or on the trading floor. They operate in private villas, encrypted communication channels, and invitation-only gatherings, where entry isn't bought with money, but with power, access, and influence. The public sees the events: a currency crash, a banking collapse, a sudden interest rate announcement, a country begging for an IMF bailout. But behind those events, there are triggers. Triggers set by groups that share no nationality, no ideology, only aligned interests. This is the story of the shadow networks that shape the world's currency cycles. The booms, the crashes, the sudden policy decisions, the panics, and the carefully timed recoveries that always somehow benefit the same players. And once we understand how these networks formed, how they operate, and how they stay hidden, we begin to see patterns repeating again and again, from the fall of the British Empire, to the Asian financial crisis, to Latin America's debt trap, to the slow erosion of purchasing power happening in almost every currency today. And this isn't conspiracy. This is structure. Let's go back, far back. Before global finance, before Wall Street, before central banks, money was heavy and slow. A merchant traveling with grain or cloth had to physically move coins. Moving money meant risk, theft, taxation, loss. Merchants hated risk. They wanted predictability and control. So they built the first network. Not nations, not governments, merchants, merchant guilds, trading houses, powerful families. Their power didn't come from armies. It came from information. If a merchant in Venice learned there would be a wheat shortage in Alexandria next season, he could adjust supply, shift prices, and profit. If he learned war was coming to Florence, he could pull his loans to local lords and buy land cheaply. The first currency manipulation was not done with computers. It was done with information asymmetry. And from this, the first rule of currency power was born. If you know something before others, you control value. By the 13th century, families like the Medici had discovered something revolutionary. You don't need to ship gold, if you can move trust instead. They created letters of credit, allowing merchants to trade large sums without moving metal. Money became more than gold. Money became a belief. And once money became belief, it could be influenced. It could be steered. It could be engineered. Trade expanded. Empires rose. The Dutch built the first stock exchange. England built the first central bank. France developed state credit agencies. These weren't national institutions at first. They were private power networks wrapped in government logos. The public saw governments, but behind them were banking dynasties, merchant alliances, and investment syndicates. Public systems were the stage. Private networks controlled the script. Now we fast forward to the 19th century. The British pound becomes the world's main currency, but Britain didn't defund its empire using taxes alone. It borrowed from private banking firms who in return gained influence inside Parliament. If a country couldn't repay its debt, its currency was devalued. If a government resisted financial pressure, political instability mysteriously emerged. If a leader tried to take control of national banking, they didn't stay in power for long. Money became policy. policy became influence. Influence became control. This is where the modern shadow networks form. Alliances between major banks, governments, intelligence agencies, international institutions, silent partnerships shaping global currency behavior. Then comes World War I. Chaos, hyperinflation, national bankruptcies. A perfect moment for restructuring. In 1930, a new institution is created, the Bank for International Settlements, BIS, officially to manage war reparations, unofficially to act as the central bank of central banks, a private bank, immune to national law, untouchable by taxation, completely opaque. This became the quiet command center of global monetary coordination. From this point forward, currency values weren't just economics, they were negotiated decisions. To see how the networks operate today, look at how influence flows through 6 layers. Central banks control money supply, commercial banks control who gets credit, investment funds control global capital flow, rating agencies control economic reputation, IMF, World Bank control bailout conditions, media and research control public perception. These layers move together. If they want a currency up, raise interest, attract investment. If they want it down, downgrade credit, trigger capital flight. Not always planned, but always patterned. Example: the Plaza Accord, 1985. Japan's economy was rising fast, too fast. Its currency was undervalued. Its industries were outcompeting the West. So the US, UK, France, West Germany, and Japan met privately in the Plaza Hotel. They forced the yen to rise. Japan didn't want this, but it had no choice. The yen doubled. Exports collapsed. The economy entered decades of stagnation. The market didn't do this. A network did. Example: the Asian financial crisis, 1997. Thailand, Indonesia, South Korea, Malaysia. These countries grew too fast. Foreign investment poured in, then suddenly flew out. Currencies collapsed by up to 80%. IMF stepped in with conditions. Sell your national industries, open your markets, privatize your assets. And who bought those assets? The same investment groups that triggered the boom. Boom, collapse, buyout, control. Now we enter the digital era. The networks are no longer just families and banks. They include central bank coordination groups, private equity megafunds, sovereign wealth funds, SWIFT and global payment systems, commodity pricing boards, offshore tax jurisdictions. Currency power today is not about printing more money. It's about controlling. Liquidity speed of money movement. Trust signals geopolitical expectations. When a crisis begins, the public learns last. The network reacts first. Now, here's the turning point. For the first time in a century, the shadow networks are facing competition. China is building its own trade settlement systems. Russia built an alternative to SWIFT. Saudi Arabia is stepping away from the petrodollar. India is buying oil in rupees. Brazil, Turkey, South Africa, and others are forming new currency blocks. The global system is fracturing. The question isn't who controls currency today. It's who will control it next. 3. Key takeaways. Currency value is not natural. It's shaped by networks that coordinate capital, policy, and narrative. Public institutions are the surface. Real influence flows through private alliances behind them. Digital and cashless systems may not free us. They may simply create a new layer of control. A warning: the next major currency shift won't look like a collapse. It will look like convenience. Cashless systems, digital identity wallets, programmable transactions. People won't be forced to accept it. They'll choose it because it feels easier. Control won't be taken. It will be offered. If you want to understand how power truly works, how money, politics, and influence are really coordinated, Then stay here. Subscribe, share this video, and comment what part of this system you want to explore deeper. Because understanding money is not about getting rich. It's about understanding power. And power is never given. It is taken by those who understand the system better than everyone else.